Hello, everyone. Welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and this is another random week. And this is actually, I didn't think of this. This is actually a suggestion from Rob. He suggested maybe I do this, and actually, I thought it was a good one, so I took him up on it. And the movie that I'm reviewing today is from the Hammer collection from 1971, a Jimmy Stengster film. We are reviewing Lust for a Vampire. And this is actually a really, really good film and pretty well done. And as you can see, I'm rocking the old Anchor Bay DVD here, which I know that there is I know that there's a Blu-ray from Scream Factory, but I'm kind of sitting here thinking to myself, like, I may as well just hold off and wait till the 4K comes around. And honestly, even still, we all know, like, Anchor Bay DVD is good quality, so and this DVD, it still looks amazing. So I'm happy to hang on to it for the time being. But yeah, we're not here to talk about one of my videos. We're here to talk about, I'm not here to do a review of the disc. We're here to talk about the movie itself. And this movie was actually the second part in a trilogy. The first part being The Vampire Lovers, which I reviewed on the channel a long time back, and then Twins of Evil, which I don't remember if I reviewed it or not. I got to go back and look. But anyway, yeah, this was the second part, and it was the second part of a trilogy that was loosely based on the story Carmilla, about the female vampire who, was very seductive and everything. And this is the first one, The Vampire Lovers, Ingrid Pitt. And in this one, we have, what was the actress's name? Uh, Yutte Stensgaard. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name, but she's one. And in this movie, well, it stars off. This movie is definitely a Hammer film, and it definitely has all the tropes you expect to see from, the classic Hammer films. I mean, it fits right in there with. It really is an extension of like the Hammer Dracula films. And as a matter of fact, this character here, Count Karnstein, he really, I mean, you could tell, nothing against the actor, he does a fine job, but I mean, you could tell he really is just like trying to do like a Christopher Lee impression. And, I mean, if you watch some of the Hammer Dracula films like Taste the Blood of Dracula and things like this, where kind of like, like in that movie where um, Dracula was like possessing people to go out and kill and do his bidding and things like this, and he just kind of oversees everything. In this movie, Count Karnstein is pretty much a similar character, um, and the movie starts with, a scene that if you watched Hammer vampire films, there's like there's this one scene in almost like every movie, every single Hammer vampire movie. We have a beautiful young maiden in a village, and of course, she's working kind of like at a pub and kind of like an inn, I guess you could say. And she's just doing her thing, and of course, all the guys are in love with her and hitting on her and stuff like this. And so she goes, walking off, and she's walking in the woods, and she's being stalked, and by an evil man in a carriage, and there's an evil presence inside the carriage, and so she gets, the girl gets abducted and taken back to the vampire's castle. Like I said, we've seen these, in there's a scene like this in every Hammer vampire film. And she gets taken back to the castle where she's laid upon an altar, and then Count Karnstein gives this woman, is it? Yeah, right there. As a matter of fact, you can see like right there with the knife to the girl's throat, and she cuts the girl's throat, and the blood ends up reincarnating Carmilla Karnstein, and it is like this really is like the female version of. You could tell they were doing a female version of their Dracula series with this trilogy, and so Carmilla is rejuvenated and she's back, and similar to like the Vampire Lovers, and I believe it carried on into Twins of Evil, where then we're introduced to easily the most irritating, most annoying male protagonist I think I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, this guy is so annoying. And I got to be honest, I wish this guy would have died. He doesn't, sorry, spoiler alert, but, we're introduced to this character, Richard Lestrange. And he's this arrogant, cocky, smart ass of a, writer. and you always have these kind of obligatory scenes in every one of these Hammer horror films. She's he's in the village, and the people are telling him that there's a Castle Karnstein, don't go near there. That it's got bad mojo and all this kind of stuff, and it was the home of vampires and needs to stay away from it. And of course he's being a smart ass, and he's talking down on the villagers, telling them that they're fools and they're superstitious and idiots and all. And oh, he knows better and he's smarter than everybody else. And so he's like, I'll go prove there's nothing going on here. And so he goes to this castle, and he's looking through the ruins and stuff, and he's introduced to Giles Barton, played by Ralph Bates. And turns out it's kind of interesting. I mean, Ralph Bates really tried to do all kind of different roles during his time in working for Hammer and stuff. And here he's like one of the school teachers, and it turns out that there's this school for young girls that is pretty much like right next door to the Karnstein Castle. And they opened up this school and everything. And amazingly enough, of course, like Hammer in 1971. So of course, every young girl in this school is like just the most gorgeous, stunning, most beautiful, just most delicious looking women you've ever seen. I mean, we're talking every one of them perfect tens. It's like none of them look bad. Every one of these girls is, like, so beautiful they could put supermodels to shame, pretty much. So, and as Hammer was moving on, this is the direction they were going in. So anyway, and Richard, of course, he's like he turns pretty much into a horn dog, and he very much wants to get around these girls and stuff. And so he goes to the pub, and he actually meets this guy who's going there to be a teacher. And so he manages to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? He manages to kind of figure out a way to get his way into this school, and so he can be like a teacher to the younger, like an English teacher and stuff. And he figures like he could do a good job because he's a writer and all this. But of course he's really there just to, like I said, basically just to be just run around like a horn dog and just ogle all these beautiful girls and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, I can't really say I blame him. I mean, if you see how gorgeous and stunning the girls in this movie are, you'd be like, yeah. I mean, it's like it may not be appropriate, but I mean, you could understand why. You could understand why he would do it. But anyway, so he goes, and then Carmilla, who they now call Mircalla, is brought to this school, and once she gets there, she starts to do her thing, which is to start to seduce everybody and start to kill people and drink their blood. And one thing that is interesting though is, like, they've done in other films that they didn't really do in this one. She never really turns anybody into a vampire. Usually if she drinks someone's blood, she ends up killing them. It's not like in other vampire films where they would turn someone else into a vampire or whatever. But like, there are points in the film where certain characters go to her and basically they know that she is a vampire and basically beg her to turn them into one and all. But she doesn't do it. Usually if she bites someone, that's pretty much, that's the end. And so now we have this character Janet, who she's starting to suspect. She's starting to fall in love with Richard. Why, I have no freaking clue, but she is. She's starting to fall in love with Richard. But the problem is there's a little bit of a love triangle going on here, because Richard is falling in love with Mircalla. And he's more and more becoming obsessed with her and everything else. And, but as the body counts start to rise and more questions are, coming up, it's like, what's going on here? And there's, scenes of Mircalla. She's seducing both men and women. And, one of the things that was definitely going on during this time was that, like, a lot of this stuff was really starting to become really old hat for Hammer Studios. And, it was, this was 1971. The times were changing, and this old gothic, these kind of old gothic horror stories weren't really flying, and they figured, Hammer decided they needed to really start to, kind of get with the times, and one of the things that was becoming, um, so much more, so much more like what you're seeing in movies and stuff. There was a lot more sexuality and nudity and stuff like this, and women being more kind of women being more free, I guess you could say, and more aggressive, and women going for what they wanted, and women being assertive. That's the word I meant to say. Women being assertive. There was more of that going on, and women finding their voice and speaking out and things like this. And so there was more of that. And Hammer, and admittedly, you go back and you look at, you go back and look at old Hammer films. I wouldn't say they were misogynist, but like you go back to the 50s or even some of the 60s Hammer movies, like a lot of their movies weren't exactly like the most, you didn't have like girl bosses. What I'm trying to say, you didn't have all these girl bosses or anything like that. Usually, like in the older Hammer films, the women were kind of more damsels in distress and stuff, and it was usually up to the man to save. Usually, it was somebody like Peter Cushing or somebody like that. But it's like I said, women, they were changing with the times, and women were becoming more assertive and things like this. And one of the things though too was like nudity. Like nudity was very much starting to find its way into Hammer films. And like I said, it was kind of funny. I think I said this when I did my Dracula Prince of Darkness review. Was I thought it was funny that here in the 70s and all this kind of stuff, that Hammer and British films, they were really trying to up the ante in terms of sexuality, nudity, violence, blood, gore, and everything else. But then once we got into this, the late 70s, into the 80s and stuff like that, then all of a sudden, boom, all of a sudden in London, you have the video nasty scandal and everything, where they all of a sudden they were really trying to censor and edit as much films and everything and media as they could, But so anyway, so yeah, I think pretty much the villagers are realizing that the body count is rising and things like this, and you know, but here's the thing though, is like the character of Richard, he's becoming way more obsessed with Mircalla, and and this guy is so obsessed with her to the point where I guess it's kind of understandable that she would have this kind of effect on a man, but even still, you're like, this guy is, he's like at the point, like he's willing to let the entire village burn down if it means saving her. So, so anyway, so it's kind of like, in a way, like I said, it's just, you kind of like in a lot of other movies, this guy would die. He would not be like a hero. He's not a hero or anything like that. He's not heroic or anything like that. He's kind of an idiot. He's selfish and everything else. He's brain dead. He won't listen to reason, all this kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and leave it there. And it's up to the villagers and everybody else to figure out how they're going to defeat the Karnsteins and everything else. Which, of course, obviously, if this is a trilogy, they don't really, because you're going into the next movie, which would be Twins of Evil. But anyway, I think I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. So, yeah, Lust for a Vampire. I remember the first time watching it, I remember kind of like, I think I was too distracted to really enjoy it. And then the second time when I watched it, I was kind of like, I really like this a lot more. Like I said, I think the first time, I think when I kind of had this on like in the background, I was just like doing stuff, like, doing work around the house or something like that. And I just kind of had this on for noise, and I didn't really pay attention to it. But it's like now, sitting down and watching it for a second time and like really paying attention to it, I appreciate it a lot more. And this here, it's like, I think this is going to be pretty much, like this is going to kind of like appeal to, this is going to kind of appeal to people who like, it's not going to help it, something like this. It's not going to help if you have an immature attitude towards eroticism or sexuality or anything like this. If you're really immature in those kind of things, like this movie's not going to help you. If you do, if you're kind of like, I can, yeah, I mean, the eroticism, the sexuality, things like this, it's there, it's there for a reason. It's not just to be, it's not just to be exploitative or anything like that. And to try to look at it from, if you could be adult about it, basically is what I'm saying. Then, and also too, just understand the story, understand what's going on, and everything else. I think you would really enjoy this. Not just for the beautiful, lovely, gorgeous women that are gracing your screen, but you'll also enjoy the story in and of itself. And I was thinking when I was watching this, like, I wouldn't mind if they started doing this story kind of like a new, I don't want to say updated, because we know, like, look at the crap Hollywood's churning out now. We know what their idea of updated means, but I think honestly, like, if they wanted to do this and they wanted to do it well, and tell the stories well and everything else, like, personally, I think you could do this as a series of films. And if she was game to do it, I think Margot Robbie would be perfect, for like, for the new Carmilla. If they wanted to do a series of films and everything else, I think, like, like the way Margot Robbie fit Barbie, like a glove, I think she would also fit Carmilla, the female vampire, like a glove. I wouldn't mind, but I mean, yeah, just kind of like, at the same time though too, it's like, give it to somebody who's more interested in making like a real well made vampire erotic horror film. And please, not just another platform for just politics and all this kind of crap. Just no more of that. And but anyway, I think you could really do something with this. Like, give it to a good writer and good filmmakers and stuff like that. And like I said, you could do a series of films like this. And if Margot Robbie was game, she would be the perfect Carmilla. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Lust for a Vampire. Yeah, this actually is a really good movie. It may not be the very best movie that Hammer has ever made, but I mean, there's definitely enough in it to keep you interested. Some of the special effects may not hold up, but oh well. I definitely recommend this though, and yeah, and actually, Rob kind of gave me an idea. It's like, I'm aside. Also, I still want to keep working on reviewing Boris Karloff films, and I still have some other ideas for Jekyll and Hyde, adaptations and stuff that I want to do. But yeah, this is another thing that I'm going to start dabbling into, is erotic vampire horror films. And I think this obviously is going to be fun for me, but hopefully it'll be fun for you guys too. So I think I've gone on way longer than I should have. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I also hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. And, I say it all the time, but it bears repeating. I'm working with a great bunch of guys, and, I'm really honored to be in their company. And, I'm happy. I'm so happy to be a part of this. And that's it. So take care, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later.